In a glittering hall, the reconciliation dinner was already a battlefield. Two old men who hadn't shared a table in 30 years.
You call this dinner an offering, Tarek. Your well water still tastes of my son's blood.
And your poisoned livestock killed my daughter. Do not pretend innocence here, Marwan.
Sheikh Tarek's hand slid beneath his white thobe. His fingers curled around the dagger's ivory hilt.
Sheik, the men are ready. Give the signal.
They're going to kill each other right here. I have to do something.
Isabella set her tray down, the clatter of silver lost in the rising tension. Her grandmother's peace poem surfaced, unbidden.
Grandmother, you ended a feud with words, but I am just a waitress. Will they let me speak?
Only one person saw where this night was headed and held the ancient key to stop it.
The poem of the two brothers. If it stopped a war once, maybe it can stop this one.
The insult hung like a blade between them. Sheikh Tarek's chair scraped against marble.
You speak of my well. Your agents poisoned that water. Your own blood killed my daughter.
Yusuf stepped forward, hand inside his jacket. Karim threw up a calming palm, but the room was a tightened spring.
Enough. We agreed to talk. Put away your hands.
Talk? They murdered our children. There is no talk.
Isabella's fingers trembled around the water glass. The first line of the poem pushed at her throat.
If I speak, they'll throw me out. If I don't, they'll kill each other.
In her mind, her grandmother's voice echoed the old poem. When brothers forget the well, the water turns bitter. She could almost smell the sandalwood from that old lesson, the girl she was soaking in every word. But the well was forgetting fast. The room was one breath away from drawn daggers. Sheikh Marwan's chair screamed across the marble as he stood. The ceremonial dagger slid free, half revealing its damascened blade.
You want blood, Tarek? Then come and let your own stain this table.
Yusuf stepped forward, his dagger already fully drawn, the tip trembling with restrained fury. Isabella moved without thought, her tray clattering forgotten as she placed herself at the center of the storm.
Are you mad? Get back before they cut you down.
My grandmother's peace poem can stop this. Let me through.
She ducked under his arm, her voice suddenly filling the hall as she raised her hand.
When two brothers forgot the well, the water turned bitter.
The ancient Nabati words sliced through the hatred, clear and cold. No one moved, no one breathed. Even the daggers paused mid-thrust. The room was a graveyard of a moment, the storm suspended by a single line of verse. The blade in Marwan's hand didn't lower, but his gaze lifted from Tarek to the waitress.
Who taught you that verse, girl? Speak, before I decide you are a spy.
Two sons of one father, yet they drank from separate cups. The well grew bitter between them.
The words didn't just hang in the air. They settled like dust on old wounds. Yusuf's blade dipped an inch.
That is my father's lullaby. She cannot know it. She cannot.
Karim caught his breath. He'd heard his own grandmother hum that poem when she thought no one listened.
They built walls where there were none, until the well itself cried out for the taste of shared water.
Enough games. Finish it. Where did this poem come from?
Sheikh Tarek's dagger hand fell to his side, his knuckles white no longer. For the first time in 30 years, the two houses listened to the same voice. But the poem had not yet named the well, and the room still breathed unfinished history.
The well between them had run dry, but when the eldest brother opened his veins, the water remembered sweetness.
Silence. Those words are sacred to my line. You steal from our dead and dare to recite them here?
Let her speak. That verse was not written for your house alone. Where did you learn it, girl?
My grandmother taught me. She was a Bedouin poet who carried this poem across the sands to broker peace between tribes.
Karim's hand crept to the locket, hidden beneath his shirt, the one his own grandmother pressed into his palm before she died.
A Bedouin's granddaughter, reciting our blood secrets. You fed her these lies, Marwan, a performance to humiliate me.
The younger brother wept red into the sand, but the water from the well washed it clean, and they shared one cup again.
But the poem had not yet named the well. and the men still held their weapons close.
My grandfather spoke this poem the night he died. He said it was the key to a door we had locked long ago.
Old men's ghost stories. A poem proves nothing. Finish your recitation, Waitress, and then leave, if you still can.
The well stood between them, a wound in the sand that never healed until one wept salt and the other wept earth.
She reached into her apron and withdrew a folded parchment, yellowed corners flaking like dried leaves.
My grandmother copied this from a scroll already a century old when she was a girl.
Any calligrapher could forge that. You expect me to believe a waitress carries a peace treaty?
The seal is that of the House of Poetry. Even I know that sigil. It's genuine.
This poem ended the water feud between the Bani Salem and the Al Saif, 40 years of killing. One night, an old woman recited it, and they laid down their arms forever.
My grandfather said, a woman poet stopped a blade with a verse in the empty quarter. Was your grandmother that Zainab?
She was. And she told me the poem always worked, if the hearers were honest enough to listen.
Listen, my daughter is dead because of their poison. Can your poem return her breath?
Kareem's fingers tightened around the locket, the metal still warm. He wanted to speak, but the words died in his throat. The parchment trembled in Isabella's hand, and the room still breathed only half the truth. Before Tarek could strike, Kareem stepped forward, the silver chain taut in his shaking hand.
Wait, my grandmother gave me this locket. She said it held the words that would mend the broken line.
He held the locket open, and the ancient inscription caught the light.
The well remembered their names. That's the exact line from my grandmother's scroll.
That locket. My father ordered it, made from a silver ingot he carried out of the war. The poem was his dying gift to my mother.
Coincidence. Any silversmith could copy a verse. This proves nothing.
Sheikh Marwan, forgive me, but your grandfather gave this to my grandmother as a promise that the feud would one day end. I kept it hidden because I was afraid.
The bodyguards exchanged glances. For a breath, the hall rustled with something that was not quite hope, but not entirely fear either.
And your family, Tarek? Do you have a ring with this same crest? My father told me it was mirrored in your line.
Sheikh Tarek's hand went to his own finger, where the heavy gold ring had rested for 40 years. His jaw set, but his eyes betrayed him. The matching crest was about to see light. Sheikh Tarek slowly pulled off his ring, the gold hawk crest worn smooth by decades. He held it out.
If this crest matches yours, then I have been a fool for 30 years.
Marwan lifted the locket and held it beside the ring. The gold seemed to absorb the light, but the engraving was unmistakable.
They're identical. The hawk, the blade, it's the same crest.
According to the poem, the hawk guards both nests when they honor one well. Your grandfathers were brothers.
Brothers. We share no blood. Our houses have always been enemies.
My grandmother said we were one house long ago, before the well was poisoned. She never named the poisoner.
The evidence lay on the table, undeniable. 2 heirlooms, 1 forgotten lineage. Sheikh Tarek's face drained. He touched the ring as if it were a stranger. Only the poem's final lines could explain the well, and everyone in the room knew the waitress was not finished.
And when the eldest brother saw his reflection in the youngest's tears, he remembered the well they had dug together, for they were not 2 houses, but 1 root, 1 blood, 1 thirst, and the water flowed sweet again.
Sheikh Marwan's hand unclenched on the table. His fingers, so recently coiled around a dagger, trembled open.
1 blood, my son. Did I bury him for a lie?
Sheikh Tarek pressed his palm flat against his chest, over the heart that had housed hatred for 3 decades. Isabella's voice dropped, but the final word echoed like a stone into still water. A tear carved a clean path down her cheek.
She did it. The poem is alive.
Kareem's composure cracked. He pressed a fist to his mouth, eyes wet.
My son died cursing the Al-Rashid name. How can a verse wash 20 years of his mother's tears?
The question hung in the silent hall, and both patriarchs lifted their eyes to the waitress, waiting for the well to finally be named.
The poet who wrote these words buried them beside a well in the empty quarter. He signed it, Hamad ibn Rashid al-Asadi.
Hamad? That was my father's father. He vanished in the war before I was born.
Your grandfather was Hamad? But Hamad al-Asadi was my father's name. That would make us
The family tree, blurred by decades of vengeance, snapped into focus. One trunk, two branches that had forgotten each other.
He was one man. Hamad fathered two sons who fought over the well. You are cousins.
Cousins. The blood I swore to spill was my own family.
my brother, my cousin. We buried our sons for a feud that should have been a funeral for one grandfather.
The old man's voice cracked, and 30 years of bitter certainty crumbled into the space between them.
Then, tell me, cousin, who poisoned the well? Because I did not kill your daughter, and you swear you did not kill my son.
The question hung like a half-drawn sword. Both men now faced the same enemy, a lie that had outlived its maker.
My son, Yusuf, drank from that well and never woke. The physician said the water was tainted. My own brother swore he saw your man pour the poison.
And my daughter, Layla, died the same death, the same physician. My cousin swore they saw your servant near the well the night before.
The same well, the same lie, fed to both houses by tongues that have long since turned to dust.
Who would benefit from turning two brothers into enemies? Who would poison a well to start a war?
The Al-Haram clan. They controlled the northern wells. They vanished after the war started, leaving both our families destroyed.
The outsider who poisoned the water had long since fled, leaving two grieving fathers to sharpen their blades against each other.
3 decades. We buried our children and waged war on each other for 3 decades, while the real killer drank from clean water somewhere else.
The old men saw their younger selves now, not as enemies, but as pawns in a game played by ghosts.
If we had shared the poem instead of the poison, our sons and daughters might be alive today.
The well they had finally named was not just in the poem. It was the grave of their own broken bond, waiting to be refilled.
Sheikh Tarek, my father swore the Al-Nassers poisoned the well. That was all I was told.
And my grandmother wept, telling me the Al-Rashids killed Yusuf. We were fed the same poison.
A collective breath left the room. A long-held vice cracked open.
We both drank the poison they poured into our ears. Our feud was their triumph.
Then it's over. Not a peace treaty. It should never have started.
Two old men on opposite sides of a well. They never poisoned saw each other clearly for the first time.
What do we do now? We've trained for this fight since childhood.
We put down the weapons and listened. Like the poem said,
Bodyguards began to unbend, hands slipping from holsters. The air tasted of salt and old grief. The question now was not who to blame, but whether they could become a family again before the night ended.
I have spent 30 years hating a ghost. Marwan, forgive me. My heart was buried with my daughter, but I buried it in the wrong grave.
Forgive. My son's small grave is still warm in my memory. How do I forgive what I cannot forget?
The poem says the well was poisoned by strangers. Only when the brothers shared the water did it turn sweet again.
Sheikh Marwan's hand hovered over the ring on the table, as if reaching for a ladder he could not see.
We share the same grandfather, the same well, the same grief. I will carry your son's name to my grave, if you ask it.
A name cannot fill an empty bed, but your face. Now I see only Hamad's eyes in yours.
In the poem, the eldest brother wept into the well and the water rose. The hall stood still, waiting for real tears.
The grandmother who taught me said the well does not ask who poisoned it, only who will drink together again.
Then I will drink, but my hands are still shaking from the blade I almost drew.
One step forward would seal it. One step back, and the well would run dry again. Sheikh Marwan drew a slow breath, then deliberately pulled his dagger from its sheath and laid it on the table, blade dark against white linen.
My grandfather's last words were, "Remember the well." I was 13. I never understood. until tonight.
He extended his hand across the table, not to strike, but to bridge. Kareem caught his breath. Yusuf froze, one hand still half raised.
The poem's final line. They washed their hands in the same well, and the water turned clear.
The old man's hand trembled in the air. A white flag made of skin and bone.
His hand, the hand that drew against me, and now it offers peace.
The room was a cathedral of held breath. All prayers compressed into the space between two old enemies. If Tarek refused, the well would swallow them both. The hand hung in the candlelight, waiting for the only answer that could save them. Sheikh Tarek's hand moved before his mind could object. His fingers closed around Marwan's, rough and warm. For a long beat, neither man spoke. Their eyes held something older than words.
Grandmother's voice. A well-shared tastes sweeter than a well-guarded.
The aides exhaled. Yusuf's hand finally dropped from his jacket. Kareem's locket swung free. The poem's last line rang silently in the still air. They washed their hands in the same well, and the water turned clear. Marwan's grip tightened, pulling Tarek a step closer. Not an embrace yet, but a refusal to let go. Tears slid unchecked down Marwan's cheeks, but his voice held steady. 30 years of poison. And the antidote had always been a desert poem, carried in a waitress's pocket. The two men stood linked by flesh and memory, on the verge of something neither had expected to find: family. Suddenly, Marwan pulled Tarek into a rough embrace, the kind that hurts before it heals.
Cousin, I have hated you longer than I loved my own father. Forgive me.
There is nothing to forgive. We were both blind, and now we see.
Both men broke down, decades of grief pouring out in guttural sobs. Their white thobs soaked with tears. The hall exhaled. Kareem and Yusuf lowered their hands, the hidden daggers forgotten. Bodyguards stared at the floor.
It's really over. After 30 years, it's over.
The well is sweet again, just like the poem promised.
Isabella stepped back, her own eyes blurring. Her grandmother's promise had been fulfilled in a single night.
You were right, grandmother. The poem always works.
The blood feud had ended in a single embrace, but the formal declaration and the honor the waitress deserved still hung in the candlelit air. When they finally pulled apart, Sheikh Marwan wiped his face with a trembling sleeve and raised his voice for all to hear.
The blood feud is over. No more shall our sons and daughters bleed for a poisoned well.
We share one grandfather, one well. From tonight, we share one house. Anyone who says otherwise answers to me.
A murmur of agreement rippled through both sides. Bodyguards exchanged relieved glances. Aides nodded through their tears.
I never thought I'd see this day. My father died believing the Al Nasser name was cursed.
The curse is broken now. We'll drink from the same cup, just like the poem.
Slowly, men from opposite sides began to move together. Hands that had reached for daggers now reached for bread. The formal dining table, once a battlefield, became what it was meant to be: a place for a family meal.
The well is sweet again. Grandmother, you did this.
But the waitress who had spoken the poem still stood alone, unnoticed amid the celebration. Her honor had not yet come. Sheikh Marwan's voice rose above the celebration, and every head turned toward the quiet waitress.
Come forward, daughter of the well. Your voice saved us where our blades could not.
Bring the family shawl, the one Hamad wove for his sons. She must wear it.
Kareem slipped forward, the ancient shawl heavy with gold thread across his outstretched arms. The patriarchs took the cloth and draped it over Isabella's shoulders. The weight of a century settled there.
From this night, you are a daughter of both houses. No door will ever close to you again.
Tarek bowed, pressing his hand to his heart. Marwan followed, their old spines bending with grace. The hall erupted. Applause and sobs mingled, echoing off the chandeliers. Bodyguards smiled. Old enemies embraced.
My grandmother taught me that a well shared tastes sweeter. Tonight, we all drink from it.
For the first time in decades, the two families raised their glasses as one. The well was sweet again. Isabella looked down at the shawl, her fingers tracing the gold thread. Her voice trembled, but held steady.
My grandmother always said, knowledge is a gift. The well does not ask who dug it, only who will drink together.
Sheikh Marwan and Sheikh Tarek moved to stand on either side of her, their hands resting on the table. A photographer stepped forward. The flash momentarily froze the moment. 3 generations of a lost lineage reunited under a single crest. The photograph would be printed in every paper, alongside the poem's full history, Hamad's 2 sons, the poisoned well, the outsider who vanished. Both families lost children to the same poisoned well. Both were fed the same lie for 3 decades, until one old poem made them see the truth. The outsiders had vanished long ago, but the poison stayed until a waitress washed it away with a single Nabati poem.
Tonight, the well is clean again, and this daughter, she is our truest heir.
Isabella's tears finally fell freely, but her smile was steady. The poem had done its work, and as the night deepened, the 2 houses became one, not by treaty, but by the ancient truth that a well-shared tastes sweeter. Karim and Yusuf met in the center of the hall. No daggers between them, only open palms. They clasped hands. At a nod from the sheiks, bodyguards pushed the long table aside. The barrier that had divided 2 houses was simply folded away. Men who had come armed to kill now passed platters of lamb and poured water from the same ewer. The patriarchs guided Isabella to the head of the new table, the place of honor between them.
Sit, daughter. Tonight, no one serves you. Tonight, we all serve peace.
Laughter rose for the first time in the hall, a sound so foreign it startled even the men who made it. The feast stretched late into the night. Every plate a message, every shared cup a seal on the reconciliation.
I used to dream of this night. I just never thought a waitress and a poem would make it real.
And outside the walls, the world began to buzz with the photograph and the story. But inside, there was only family. The waitress, who had stopped a blood feud with a single poem, now sat where she belonged, at the heart of the well. Late in the night, Isabella slipped through a side door and stepped into the quiet courtyard outside the hall. The shawl still draped her shoulders, the night air cool against her face. Above, a river of stars stretched endlessly.
Grandmother, you once told me the poem was the well itself. Tonight, I finally understood.
A gentle breeze stirred, carrying the distant scent of jasmine and the muffled laughter from inside. Inside, 2 families who had been enemies for a generation were sharing salt and bread. The sound of the feast was a balm.
I didn't need to be a poet to end a war. I just needed to remember what you gave me.
For a moment, she felt her grandmother's presence, the old woman's hands guiding hers, the poem a living thread between generations. The shawl was heavier with honor than she'd ever imagined. But the weight felt right, like a mantle she'd been preparing for all her life. The poet's granddaughter stood alone in the desert breeze, not as a waitress anymore, but as the guardian of a peace that almost didn't happen. Then a familiar voice called from the doorway, pulling her back into the light. She turned back toward the hall. In the doorway, Sheikh Marwan and Sheikh Tarek stood together, no longer enemies.
Isabella, the well is sweet. Come, sit with us.
The hall grew quiet as every face turned to watch the waitress and the shawl walk toward the 2 chieftains. The patriarchs placed their hands on her shoulders, and together they faced the room, one family, finally, whole. In that moment, the poem was no longer ink on parchment. It was flesh and blood, shared water, and a waitress's quiet courage. Then she turned her gaze forward, directly into the lens, as if to say, even a well forgotten can be remembered.
A well shared tastes sweeter. You were right, grandmother.
Like the Nabati poem passed through generations, the piece would live on, carried in the voice of a waitress who dared to speak, and the well ran sweet for all who drank from it. The feud drowned in the same water that once separated them. Her smile remained steady and sure, as the final frame of a night that rewrote history.